So one of the problems I used to have when building AI agents, applications, or workflows is that it's very hard to optimize them. It's very hard to keep them stable. There is an input and then there is an output that I cannot control. On top of that, there is always changes from OpenAI that is always breaking my code, and then I need to do a lot of changes and rewrite my code. And then I also want to optimize my workflows to check different models, to do some optimizations, maybe cut some costs. And it's very hard to do this if you don't have the right testing system. So in this video, I want to show you a very simple system you can use yourself to optimize your prompts, make sure you have stable AI workflows and agents, and make sure that every update of OpenAI or any other LLM provider, your code is not breaking and you are able to provide consistent value and results to your users, to your customers and clients. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jonathan. I've been building software since I'm 13 years old. In the past 2+ years, I built AI agents, AI apps, and AI workflows for myself and clients. And in March 2025, I built this AI app that I'm currently running as a product. You can go to aivideorepurpose.com that I run all my experiments and I get all my new insights. And today I want to share with you some of these insights. And before we start, I want to quote this from Pythentic AI. Evals are emerging art and science, and anyone who claims to be knowing how to do it safely can be ignored. And I just want to show you that this method that I'm using is working for speed, quality, and making sure that you can sleep well at night. So it might not be perfect, but it will do its job, and later on we can scale it. So what we'll see in this video is first of all examples on how to test different workflows and different cases with your LLMs. Then I'm gonna share with you my process of optimizing prompts over time, and this is really an easy integrated process that just comes along the way and you will see as I build it. And then we'll talk about how you can scale this approach and have something more robust for the long term. And basically the idea is that I like to call it smart unit testing, the same as we have unit tests on Python where we just have asserts and we check for values. We can also use it with AI and we can evolve it over time. So we need 3 things for this to make it work. The first one is an AI library or framework that is helping us work with the LLMs. For this example, I'm using Pythentic AI. You can use LangChain and you can also use OpenAI SDK. We'll see in a moment why it's so important. The second thing that we need some kind of a data set. Over time, you'll have all sorts of cases that your LLM will need to handle. The more data sets we have, the more tests we can make. And the third one is cases and edge cases that are common that we can add over time. The first case that I want to show you, this first flow, the whole goal of this is to categorize an email based on the message. So if we'll take a look at the prompt, all it does is getting some conversation, and there is 8 options that the LLM can pick from. So all I'm doing is I'm taking this prompt, I'm sending the conversation. For this one, we are using 4.1. Then I get the result, and the result is an object. This is one of the reasons why we want to use library like Pythentic AI. And this one is giving us the category from the categories and the confidence. Only this structure is making sure that we have robust and stable way to get results. This is structured output. You can do this without a library, but this is a topic for a different video. You can watch the other videos on the channel. And then I also calculate the costs, and then I return the result, and then the result is an object that we are getting back. So this one is a pretty basic example of returning only one type of output, and we want to make sure that it's returning the right outputs based on the inputs. So in this case, I have this eval AI agent Python, and then I created this simple data set. The structure of the dataset is including the inputs and the expected outputs. And over time you can build this. So let's say I started this video by having no examples. Then I have this function that all it does, it's calling the workflow that I just created. And based on the input, it's expecting certain outputs. So I can add more cases here. And then I can take my dataset, and when I run it, it's gonna fail. So we got not interested, and obviously it's not power. So then what we can do is we can fill this one with not interested, and slowly we can just fill in these examples and these data cases, and we can add more cases and we can just iterate upon them. And every time that we run let's say we do a for loop on this data set. Every time that we do some change and we run on this data set and it fails, we know that there is something wrong with our LLM. Now, the other cool part is I call these parameters quality params, is the confidence. So let's say we also want to make sure that this confidence it's within some kind of a threshold, and if the LLM is not confident in 90%, it means that for us it's not good enough and maybe we want to improve it or make sure that we tweak our prompt. So my process of building AI workflows and prompts, it's pretty simple. I'm writing some raw instructions for what I want the LLM to do, then I give it the inputs I think it should get, then I'm building some output result, and then I'm building an evaluate function for it and I run it. And over time, I see which cases it fails and which cases it's able to handle until I get to a point where the LLM is stable, it's getting the results I want. And the left 5 to 10% is like edge cases that we'll see over time that, as you can see, if we have this dataset JSON, we can add to this array over time. You can also store these datasets in JSONs. You can store it in different ways on your systems, but this is more for where you have huge datasets. The next case I want to talk about is when generating content. So I showed you categorizing workflow, which is kind of easier than generating content. When the LLM is generating content, sometimes it gives you like this fluffy content, this surprised content, the results that you're not expecting. So how do we handle this? Because for example, when I tell the LLM, okay, I give you a LinkedIn description, your job is to generate one-liner based on their company description, use this template. I don't know what it's gonna feel in terms of this one and this one and this one, and there is no fixed output that I can just give it. In the cases of categories, I can tell it, okay, if this is one of these categories, okay. But in cases of generating content, there is different variations that can happen, and I just want it to be in the range of the things that I wanna do. So in these cases, what I like to do is I like to add qualitative parameters. We already kind of touched it here, but this one is a bit more significant because if we add these 3 parameters, for examples, we can now have a threshold of the quality that we expect the LLM to generate. For example, if I add this parameter 3rd grade reading level and we get a range between 0 and 1, I want to make sure that the lines are always between 0.9 or 1. And if it's lower than this, then it means that the LLM failed or didn't provide the result I expected. This is the same process as a unit test. We just do the same as we did before, but now we check that if it's more or equals to 0.8, then it's good to go. If it's not, then we need to improve and optimize the new case or the new input. And as we can see, in this case, it failed and the level of easiness was 0.7. And we can also see that this is a liner that we probably would not use it. And then we can go and tweak it. So when I optimize prompts, I take a look at the results and based on the inputs, and I always try to challenge the AI until I get a stable LLM or workflow that is working well for me. So on this case, what I see is that, first of all, it's too long. The second thing is maybe it sounds a bit templatey or, it doesn't sound human. What I would do is I'm thinking about what tools I have in my belt that I can use to improve this prompt. So we can use prompt engineering. I can go back to the prompt. I can tell it, okay, don't make it more than 50 characters. If it's still doing this, then I'm gonna do like maybe check here. I check the length of the result. If the result is more than 50, run it again. If I see that the LLM is still arguing with me and not doing this, maybe I'll add another flow that is taking the output that the LLM gave me and refining that. So I divide it to a chain of prompts instead of one prompt. Maybe I can give it examples here, which this is actually a powerful thing for the LLMs. Once you give them references, they are learning so much faster. So I can give some examples here that they can use and over time improve my examples as well. I can also give it a list of complex words to never use, or I can tell it to convert words from complex words to more simple words. I can also add something like this. Give me the list of all complicated words that you are using. I can go to this result. I can print it. So yeah, it gave us enterprise grade, correctness, visibility, compliance, coverance. Yeah, these are indeed all the complex words. What I can do is I can either build a bank of complex words, then tell the LLM to never use them. Sometimes it's not really listening. I actually did some workflow like this recently, but instead you can have another flow that is replacing these complex words with something more robust. And sometimes you don't really need to have this all the time. What I mean by that is sometimes I'm just adding parameters here for myself so I can have these qualitative data points that are helping me get the right feedback and improve it over time. Sometimes it's temporary just when I build the flow. Sometimes it's things that you want to keep with your long-term evaluations, that you can run them every time that you push to production, every time that you run your code, and so on. And a lot of teams that I talked to recently, they don't even have this simple testing system, and it's hard for them to sleep at night. So at least this kind of system gives you some kind of foundation. And later on, if you want to scale this, you can use frameworks and LLM monitoring platforms like LangFuse and Langsmith, and you can self-host LangFuse because it's open source. What it allows you to do is it allows you to do evaluations on their platforms. These platforms are pretty great for, in general, tracing your LLMs, getting costs, optimizing your LLMs, knowing exactly what's happening with the all-betweens, having some logs, traces, and so on. Also, one of their features is that you're able to use no code to build your evaluations. So if you'll dive into their docs and later on you will use it yourself, everything that we did with code so far with the evaluations with Python and everything, you can create your own data sets within these applications and then you can run them based on your evaluations. And that's another benefit of using this smart unit testing, to have testing in your application. At least it gives you some kind of a start. And then when you want to scale your operations further, you can use LLM monitoring platforms like LangFuse that will give you a much clearer picture of your LLM operations, your traces, your evaluations, and so on. And that's all you need to know to set up basic testing system for your LLMs. I like this approach so much because it's pretty easy to do. You can scale it later and you don't need to think about it too much. And you can do it on the go. If you need further help to integrate it in your business, scale your AI agents, and so on, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I can give you some more customized advice. And there is a full playlist on this channel explaining how to build scalable AI agents from scratch. You can start from this video, the 12 components of building AI agents. Thank you for watching. Bye.